Welcome to Style Studies Episode 3. Style Studies is my monthly lettering series where I walk you through popular lettering styles and I include free printable PDFs and Procreate practice sheet files. So this month we are talking about serif and sans serif and creating those the right way. Okay, so our basic sans serif is first, I'm going to walk you through the Procreate file for this, but the printable PDF is the exact same. So if you don't have an iPad and you don't have access to Procreate, no problem at all. Just download and print out the PDF file and you will have the exact same worksheets as Procreate. So in Procreate, you're just going to tap on your layers and you can see I've got everything all layered out right here. This top one is the cover page, and if this is turned on, then when you are in your gallery view in Procreate, you'll be able to find it really easily. So I'm just going to toggle this off so we can talk about the style overview for basic sans serif. So what you'll need, since sans serif typefaces are all monoweight, meaning they're all one consistent weight throughout, you'll either want to use a really reliable fine liner. Microns are my favorite and my go-to. And then if you're in Procreate, I have a free monoweight brush that I would recommend using, or my mono marker brush, which is part of my Font Lovers Procreate lettering brush set. That is a paid brush set, but the mono marker has a lot of really beautiful texture in it, and it is one weight throughout. So it is actually my favorite monoweight brush that I've been using lately for my lettering. Okay, so let's talk about sans serif anatomy. So you'll notice right away that our guidelines are significantly different than in the last two episodes where we talked about simple script and then our basic core strokes. So what you can see right here is our descender is really close to our baseline, and our cap height and ascender height are basically the same. And then our X height is really, really tall from the baseline, which is not typical of most of your script lettering guidelines. So for sans serif anatomy, these are very, very geometric in nature. So you'll notice that our bowls and our counters are very oval in shape, and this is very consistent across the board. Whenever you have a letter that has a bowl or a counter, they're going to be very oval and rounded in nature. And then you're going to strictly adhere to the guidelines. In a lot of hand lettered script styles, you will divert from your guides and just kind of use them as a basic guideline. Whereas with sans serif, because it's such a geometric style, you're going to adhere to these guidelines really, really closely. And then finally, you're going to keep that consistent uniform weight, so all of your stroke weight is exactly the same. So the feeling of sans serif and serif are informational. This is usually used as supporting text. It can be used as headlines when you want something really bold and attention grabbing without too much flair to it. And so the usage is extremely legible and versatile for both headlines and extended body copy. For sans serif, it's actually excellent for on-screen readability at smaller sizes. All right, so now that you have an idea of when you should use this, what feeling it evokes, and the anatomy of it, now let's talk about our practice sheets. So in Procreate, you're just going to tap on your layers and turn off your style overview, and you can see I've got three groups right here. This first group is your uppercase and your numbers, and what you're going to do is just toggle it down, tap on the layer that says use this layer, and this is the layer that you can draw directly on top of. Okay, and then the second group right here is your sans serif lowercase. You can turn that on and you can see we have this use this layer again, so just make sure you tap on that and you use it. Once again, I've got my mono marker selected right here to trace over. And if you ever want to preview what you've done, all you have to do is turn off your base layer right here and you can see what your progress looks like. So I'm going to clear this. All right, and then finally I've included some practice words. So you'll turn off your lowercase group, turn on your practice group, and then use this layer, and then you can trace right over for practice. So that is how to navigate and use the Procreate file for this. I'm going to turn this off and you can see I've left the lettering guide on its own layer right here. So if you'd like to just use the lettering guide and practice on your own, just create a new layer right above it, and then you can just use that at will with whatever you would like. So now we're going to talk about serif lettering. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to be focusing on the slab style of serif because it is the most popular style of serif when it comes to lettering. Okay, so the exact same thing as our sans serif, you're going to want to use microns or any hard tip fine liner pen. And then in Procreate, once again, you can use that free monoweight brush. And if you'd like to add a little extra texture, there's my mono marker brush. The feeling is the exact exact same as the sans serif. It is informational, still extremely legible and versatile for both headlines and extended body copy. For those instances of extended body copy, science suggests that it is more readable in print than on screen. Okay, so let's talk about slab serif anatomy, and then I'll walk you through the different types of serif and then kind of give you some inspiration and ideas of what you can do with your own serif lettering moving forward. So things to remember. We talked about with sans serif that our bowls and our counters are more oval in shape, whereas with slab serif, they're going to be more circular. So these are very geometric still. There's still that very strict adherence to the guidelines, and we're using the exact same weight for our serif as our lettering. So you can see that the stroke weight does not change when it comes to the serif or the letter form. So that is one of the attributes that really makes it a slab serif. Other types of serifs do not keep the exact same weight right here. So we're going to talk about that right now. All right, I have a plain document just so I can show you the different types of serifs that you should be familiar with, and then you can just explore whichever ones are most appealing to you. So with slab serif, like I talked about, all of your serifs and all of your strokes are the exact same weight. So if I draw an uppercase H, our serifs will be placed wherever strokes begin and end. So they would be right here and right here. And you can see they're the exact same weight. So this is your basic slab serif, which is really common with lettering. So other types of serifs that you can use, there are basically 4 different types of serifs throughout history. The very first style is old style. So with slab serif, we have the exact same weight, but with old style, you would have just a little bit of contrast between the weight of your lettering strokes and the weight of your serifs. All of the serifs in the old style are also bracketed, which means they have a little transition between the tips of the serif and where the letter is. So this is a bracketed serif. It really looks like this. You've probably seen this before. So that's a bracketed serif, and we have low contrast between the thickness of our serif and the letter stroke itself. And then the next style is called transitional. So with transitional, there's a little bit more contrast between the letter stroke and the serif than there is with old style. So these would be a little bit thicker, but it's still very, very similar to old style. They just added just a touch more contrast between the weight of your serif versus your letter strokes. And then you also want to keep those serifs bracketed again. And then the next style of serif is modern. And with modern, you have extreme contrast. So it's really noticeable the weight difference between your strokes, your lettering strokes, and the serifs. And they don't always have to be bracketed with the modern style. So these can be super thin, unbracketed, or bracketed. And then finally, we have our slab serif. So slab is just keeping all of those weights consistent throughout. So those are the different kind of time period versions of serifs. And now in the lettering age, we become much more experimental with the different types of serifs. They don't need to be these really basic bracketed or unbracketed serifs. We can get kind of crazy with the different styles of serifs that we can integrate within our lettering. So I'm going to give you some examples of that to give you a little bit of inspiration. So these are just some ideas of what you can do with serif. You can experiment and create your own serif designs from here and then just integrate them throughout your lettering. So you could just do something as simple as putting dots on the ends, and these would be considered serifs. You can add some decoration. This is kind of like more ornamental. And then you can also get pretty crazy and just do some really unique shapes. And then you can also thicken up your letter forms. So you can see all the possibilities that you have with serifs. They're really, really fun. And then just make sure you're integrating them across all of your different letter forms. So hopefully you can see by just understanding the basics of serif and sans serif, there are a lot of possibilities to really make it your own. Okay, so hopping back into the Procreate file, it's set up the exact same way as the sans serif files. So you're just going to turn off the style overview and your title page. And then you've got a group that's serif uppercase and numbers that you can play around with right here and practice on top of. And then You can go into lowercase, and then I've got some practice words right here as well that you can use. And I've also included the serif lettering guides at the very bottom if you just want a letter right on top. So that is how to use the Procreate files. And then if you're printing them out, you can just put some tracing paper right on the printable guides. You can letter right on top of them, or you can use a light box. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of all the possibilities with serif and sans serif. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you can be notified of new Style Studies episodes in the future. For past Style Studies episodes and freebies, head on over to my site, every-tuesday.com. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle is everytuesday. Once again, the links to everything mentioned in this video, including the free practice sheets, printable, and Procreate, as well as that free Procreate monoweight brush, are right in the video description. So just tap there and you can have access to everything. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.